Hey, what's going on, everybody? AJ Shulo here, going to give you guys a main event breakdown for Cory Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw taking place this Saturday. Looking forward to the event. I have 3 bets posted for the event. If you'd like to access them, you could do so at betmma.tips /AnthonyS364, or you could go head over to DailyFanMMA.com and go to the betting hub section. Not only do you receive my bets there, but you also receive technical Tim's as well as Brett Apley's, our bets and analysis. At the time I'm recording this, I'm actually in the process right now of setting up on my website for the future to access my bets there. You would receive my bets and breakdown. I have a very simple strategy to have that all automated for you. So upon receiving the payment, you guys would receive access to my bets for future cards. But that's just something to look down at the line. Just want to give you guys a little heads up about that. But for now, betmma.tips and DailyFanMMA.com is the best way to receive my bets. Like I said, I have 3 of them posted for the event. And yeah, but we're here to talk about the main event. Obviously, this is a super compelling fight at the bantamweight division. I think that the winner of this fight could very well fight for the belt after Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling have their rematch, because obviously there's a bit of some unfinished business there. There was a controversial, I should say, unfortunate stoppage there with the last 2 they fought at UFC 259, right? Yan was winning the fight, although one judge did have up Sterling 2 rounds. Yan landed the illegal knee and we had a disqualification there. And so as a result, Sterling became the champion. So you have to think that the 2 of them run that fight back. And then we see the winner of this fight face the winner of that fight. TJ Dillashaw returning after about a 2.5-year layoff here. He tested positive, unfortunately, got suspended by USADA. And so the last time we saw him fight was when he dropped down to 125 pounds, tried to become the first ever champ who, instead of moving up in weight class, moved down in weight class. So it was an interesting circumstance there. He got knocked out by Cejudo in under a minute. It wasn't the best showing by Dillashaw, though he has a wide list of credentials throughout his whole UFC career. He has 2 wins over Cody Garbrandt. He was obviously the 2-time UFC bantamweight champion, held the belt on 2 separate occasions, also made some title defenses in there as well. So his resume speaks for itself. He's now 35. You never know how a guy is going to come back looking. I'm obviously going to break down the stylistic matchup because I think that's the most compelling element of the fight. However, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, right? Because there is just a lot of things about Dillashaw that give me a lot of pause in this fight. The red flags, not just the layoff and the fact that he's 35, but now he's coming off of a stoppage loss. Listening to an interview with him, he says he's got some other stuff going on outside of fighting. He's even said that his business that he's running outside of fighting has produced more income for him than fighting has, which is really saying a lot. Happy for the guy because he's a championship level fighter. He gets a high salary based on what he's done, what he's accomplished, things like that. And so you just never know how dedicated a guy is. I mean, I would think that he'd come in looking the best version of himself. I always assess matchups assuming that both fighters are going to come in at their best form, their peak form, but there's a legitimate chance here that we don't see the best TJ Dillashaw. So going to get into the breakdown here, and that's what I'm going to do. But again, there is a chance that Dillashaw just looks off due to all these red flags, right? So you just never know. I know he tested positive here, or excuse me, 2 years ago, rather, against Cejudo for that, that drug, but you never know if he was taking them throughout his whole career. This is the one time he popped. So you never know. There's just a lot of question marks. Obviously, Sandhagen and Dillashaw trained with each other in the past when they were in Colorado. The word on the street is that Sandhagen got the better of him. I don't really look too much into the whole training narrative thing. We've seen, TJ, when he fought Cody the first time, there was apparently a video of Cody knocking out TJ in training. And then what happens? TJ knocks out Cody both times they fought. So there's only so much to take away from training. Obviously, we saw another circumstance a few pay-per-view cards ago where there was, apparently rumors of Gilbert Burns taking down Kamaru Usman in training. Again, it's just, there's only so much to take away with training. I mean, maybe he took him down in training, but obviously he went out there and Usman still smoked him in 3 rounds, right? So only looked so much into that, but it is something that's floating out there regardless. Getting into the matchup, I think these are 2 excellent fighters. I think they both are tremendous strikers. Sandhagen's going to be a little longer, both in terms of reach and height here. Sandhagen, I've always been very impressed with his striking. The way he cuts angles is phenomenal. He's got good variety as a striker. He'll kick low. He'll kick to the body. He'll punch to the body, punch to the head. He fights at a crazy high pace. He's very good defensively. Obviously, he showed 2 fights ago. He's got a great chin. He even showed a good chin before that against John Lineker, just eating some clean bombs. Didn't really seem to phase him at all. Against Marlon Moraes, he ate some clean shots in the pocket, who's obviously a very heavy puncher for this weight class. And Sandhagen just shown to eat him fine, and he's also got very good defense. He's very good with his footwork, his technical footwork, and just how he moves in and out of the pocket. He's just a guy that is just very fast, smart, and technical. And so he's able to mount a lot of offense on the opposition while the fight is standing, while also simultaneously making sure that he's slipping out of range from a lot of counters. And so you're not hurting him, landing a lot of volume on him, that sort of thing. Obviously, John Lineker went out there and landed north of 100 significant strikes, made that very close to a split decision. But in the general sample size of Sandhagen's career, he's been very good defensively, very smart, very tactical, and he seems to be improving fight to fight. He's a young fighter. He took a loss to Aljamain Sterling, and that'll be a tough matchup for him, I think, every time he fights Sterling, just because, as we'll get into, Sandhagen does not have good takedown defense, and he tends to give up his back often to work back up. But in the general, looking at the grand scheme of the division, he is truly an elite fighter, and I would not be surprised to see him become champion one day. But as I mentioned, he does not have good takedown defense. That is Sandhagen's biggest weakness by far in his game. If you're a stats guy, it's 30%, but it also just doesn't pass the eye test. He was taken out easily by Marlon Moraes a couple fights ago. He was taken down by Austin Arnett in his UFC debut, not a UFC level fighter, right? He's been taken down by pretty much everybody who's wanted him down. John Lineker took him down easily. Uriel Alcantara. So this has just been an issue with him. Granted, Sandhagen is very tough to land a lot of offense on the ground, unless if you could rear naked choke him like Aljamain Sterling. He does a generally good job of scrambling back up to his feet. Again, making sure that you're not landing any sort of significant offense on him. But again, he does still give up his back. So there's opportunities there for the opposition to take his back, sink in both hooks and get a rear naked choke. Dillashaw, not an elite level submission grappler, but he definitely is a strong grappler, very good with his top control, passes guard in the top position, very aggressive ground and pound as he showed in the John Lineker fight. So I could see Dillashaw posing some problems to Sandhagen on the ground should he get in a dominant position. Certainly, Dillashaw is the much higher pedigree wrestler. He's just a much better MMA wrestler. So Dillashaw comes from a high-level, collegiate-level wrestling background in the octagon. Very good with his timing, his level changes, good with his double legs, good in the top position, looks to pass guard, and like we said, looks to land ground and pound. A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt is Dillashaw, but he's just such a great athlete and such a strong wrestler. It doesn't do him quite as bit of justice as to how truly good he is on the mat from the top position. So if there are takedowns to be landed here, I would think they'd more likely come from Dillashaw. That gives him a path of victory, takes Sandhagen down. I wouldn't expect him to take Sandhagen down and that be the round, like he's able to control Sandhagen for 4 minutes or so, but he can mix in some takedowns here. His cardio, I'm just going to assume his cardio is how it historically has shown to Ben. It's been good. He showed to go out there and land several takedowns, 5 of them against John Lineker in a 3-round fight. He's always had good cardio, has Dillashaw. So he has that as a path here to mix in those takedowns. The strikers battle, Dillashaw, he does have good boxing, but he's definitely excels more as a kicker. He excels more at kicking range. He had a very good game plan against John Lineker, just limited the pocket exchanges pretty much to a T, just uses very good footwork and movements, feinted a lot, limited the pocket exchanges a lot. So he's basically able to keep Lineker at bay with his kicks and his movement and mix in the takedowns and top control when need be. It was just a perfectly executed game plan by Dillashaw and was able to limit those pocket exchanges, which was Lineker's best chance to win the fight. Force the pocket exchanges, land damage on Dillashaw to either win rounds or knock him out. And even with Dillashaw limiting some pocket exchanges, he still got clipped. He still got rocked briefly, albeit he recovered. And that's another thing that I got to consider with Dillashaw here. He has been rocked in the past, not just the Lineker fight, but also both Garbrandt fights. Obviously, the first one was very notable because he got rocked badly at the end of the first round, was struggling to walk back to his corner he's walking back on wobbly legs and everything. But even in the Garbrandt rematch, right, everybody remembers, he ended up, getting the knockout there, and fair play to him for that. But he was rocked prior to that. So obviously Sandhagen, he's not the biggest power puncher. He doesn't really hurt guys a lot with his hands. It's usually like flurries and body shots when he's able to get a stoppage with his boxing, but he does have a very good knee, on level change. We just saw that last time out against Frankie Edgar, very good timing with it. He's also very dangerous with his kicks. Obviously, he's coming off a fight 2 fights ago where he got a spinning kick knockout against Marlon Moraes. So he's not the most dangerous with his hands as Sandhagen in terms of like a one-punch knockout threat, but he can hurt you with flurries and he can hurt you with his legs. So I'm not ruling out a Sandhagen knockout just because of that very reason, that he is still dangerous as a striker. And we have seen Dillashaw hurt in the past, albeit by guys that I think hit harder than Sandhagen. But again, what is his durability like with all of these red flags? I don't know. Maybe he looks fine. Maybe he doesn't. And so on the feet, I do slightly favor Sandhagen as a guy that I just think will be a little bit faster here, a little bit less rusty. a little longer. You know, they both excel at that like range kicking game, but Sandhagen's just got a little bit of length on Dillashaw. I think he'll be a little bit sharper just being in the octagon so many more times than Dillashaw has been the past 2.5 years. But make no mistake, from a technical level, from a pace level, from a variety level, this fight is very competitive. Dillashaw is an excellent striker when he was in his prime. Again, very good pace. He also has power as well. I'd say the bigger pure power threat goes in favor of Dillashaw. He's just shown more frequency in hurting guys with his hands. And also his pace is very good. His defense, both guys have very good defense and footwork. So again, I'm favoring Sandhagen on the feet, but albeit it's just by a very slight margin here. Sandhagen also has the durability advantage because, like we said, he's just taken some clean bombs from big hitters, and he has remained largely unfazed. He's very hard to hit, and again, he's very hard to hurt if he gets hit. So striking advantage at distance and the durability advantage goes in favor of Sandhagen. The wrestling advantage goes in favor of Dillashaw because he's just so much better of a wrestler. He's just shown to be, comes from a higher pedigree. The eye test suggests it as well in the octagon. And I have to think that if there is takedowns and top control to be had here, it would come from TJ Dillashaw. So official prediction is actually going to be TJ Dillashaw. I just think that stylistically, when we have a very competitive striking battle, but we also have the angle of Dillashaw as the guy that's more likely to get takedowns and top control here, that just gives him more paths to victory, in my opinion. Again, it's not with the most confidence. It's not as I'm not as confident in Dillashaw as say I was against Dustin Poirier last main event breakdown or other main event fighters that I picked in the past, but still, he's going to be my prediction nonetheless. I tend to think that the stylistic matchup is more compelling, the most compelling thing when analyzing the fight, how the fighters' skill levels match up against one another. Of course, these red flags could really mean that Dillashaw just comes in here looking significantly regressed. That's very, very possible. But again, from a stylistic perspective, it's not a bad fight for Dillashaw, but it just, again, coming in here 2.5 years off, tested positive for EPO. And like I said, he's just got other things going on. He's got a very successful business. You never know how dedicated he is. He seems dedicated. He says he wants to prove that he's still the best 135 pounder in the world. Technically, he didn't lose his belt last time out against Cejudo because again, he was moving down. So he wasn't really dethroned as a champion during this layoff, by a fighter that he fought. It was just because, like we said, the USADA related incident. So again, he's definitely has a point to prove. He definitely has some motivation to go off of here, but it's just a matter of how much. Got to favor Sandhagen as the hungrier fighter, I'd say, of the two, just the younger fighter with more upside that, seems to be more focused on fighting of the two. But I still do expect Dillashaw to come in here looking good, and that is going to be my prediction. So official prediction is going to be TJ Dillashaw. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you if you guys would hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you do so choose. Also, like we talked about off the top, if you'd like to access my bets for the event, I have 3 of them placed, 2 props, 1 money line play. You could do so at betmma.tips /AnthonyS364 or on DailyFanMMA.com on the betting hub section. And like I also talked about, I'm working on pretty much I'm already done with, having the bets be accessed on my website, ajmmabetting.com. However, I'm going to start implementing that. You'll be able to start accessing them on my website in the future. I'm going to leave that off to the wayside here for this upcoming card. But until then, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Good luck on this event and take care.